I don't care about your efforts, bro. Just get it done. Yeah. We're going to talk about the key business lessons that we learned over our combined 19 years in business. And these lessons have been the reason behind why we've been able to scale to $3 million.
You're a soldier, boy. Until the age of 18, you're just a foot soldier. But once you hit 18, then you're left to the dogs. And if you don't step up, people, they come out of uni, bruv, they don't know left from right. What am I doing in life? I don't know. You have to rebound back strong, hard, fast.
The concept of I tried, there's no way to measure that. Eliminate trying and just say, I'm going to get it done. I actually have dyslexia. I used to always get in trouble for my handwriting being bad. I never had extra time, but I always got the test done. It was never brought to my attention. Because I never had that label, I could finish a book every 3 days. I learn Arabic. I read classical texts. That was proof for me that, brother, you can get the job done. So then after that, Facebook ads is easy. All of that is easy, brother.
You may outgrow a mentor, but you will never outgrow mentorship.
He was a learner. He had books that he read. I purchased every single one of those books. Rich Dad, Poor Dad was there, Made to Stick. When I looked at him, I was like, okay, cool. You became a millionaire because you learn and you implement what you learn. So I have to do the same. Read what you love until you love to read. You got one ADHD Donny here. You got one dyslexic Donny here. It works for us. Assalamu alaikum, guys. In today's episode, we're going to be diving into the lessons that myself and Abu Bakr learned on our journey that helped us reach $3 million in the last few years. Sometimes it's not necessarily business skill that you need in order to scale. Sometimes the business skill is there, but there's life skills, personal skills that are actually becoming the constraints of your growth in your business. So we talked about so much here, from mentorship to learning how to read a book once every 3 days, overcoming issues like self-doubt and so much more, right? We talked about schedules and how to put a schedule together, which will help you in all different areas of your life and of course in terms of business. So without any further ado, let's get it cracking. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to the Righteous and Rich podcast. It's the podcast in which we are trying to be righteous and rich for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The objective behind this wealth is not the wealth in it within itself, rather is the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We want in the next few years to bring about, with Allah's permission, 1,000 righteous millionaires that are slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that use this money for the cause of Allah Azza wa Jal. We want to be like Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu anhu, the most pious of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's companions, one of the most richest as well. And he would use his wealth and his knowledge for this deen. Abu Bakr.
Yes, my
How
bro.
are you today, man? Today, inshallah ta'ala, we've got a very, very interesting episode. We're going to talk about the business lessons, some of the key business lessons that we learned over our combined 19 years in business. And these lessons have been the reason behind Allah Azza wa Jal's permission. We've been able to scale to $3 million, right? Currently, we're doing $70,000 plus every month. In fact, this last month, I think, is going to be past 80,000. So exponential growth kicks in and then things start going faster, right? But we're not a thing or two about business.
Pounds. £70,000 this month.
Yeah.
In dollars, that's going to be like 100.
That's what I said. It's going to be 8,000 plus, right? So, okay, yeah, 100. So point being is that, my point is that we know a thing or two about business, right? We've also lost a lot of money. I think we might have lost more than the average person because pretty much everything came in.
Lost, spent, depends what you call it, but yeah.
Right, yeah.
We didn't retain.
There's been losses. Remember the 30,000 that just disappeared. Point being is that we know a thing or two about making money, right? Losing money, and now maintaining money with Allah's permission, right? All without falling into haram, with Allah's tawfiq, right? Without riba, without deception, without all of those things right there. So, Abu Bakr, talk to me, man. What is one of the lessons that you've learned in these 19 years that contributed towards this $3 million plus?
So one quick disclaimer I just want to mention is that when I was coming up with this list, there were some that were religious, some that were like business related. I've left out the religious ones, even though they're the primary and most important ones, because today is Monday and this is a rich episode. Yeah. And inshallah, maybe we could do an episode one time on the righteous side of things on a Thursday. Yeah. So everything I'm going to be mentioning is business, but don't think that means that these are the most important. The deen related stuff, as you mentioned, is primary first and foremost. So the first one that I want to mention is stick to the damn recipe. And if you don't know the recipe, you better go and find out what the recipe is. Let me give you an example here. Imagine you're trying to bake a cake. You go online, you find a recipe, but the recipe isn't complete. It doesn't have the complete list of ingredients. Okay. It doesn't have all the steps you need to take. You only got some of them. And even the ones that are there, they aren't in order. What are the chances of you coming out of that experience, out of that session with a cake?
Yeah, not very high.
I would say almost impossible. So what do you have to do in that situation? You've got a few options. Number one, you can try and experiment and spend I don't know how many years, trying every combination of different ingredients you got in the kitchen, every possible order of different steps. Eventually, you may get to the answer. The first guy that ever baked the cake, eventually he got to the answer. Or you'd have to find someone who already knows. You just ask them, and either you have to pay them for that, or they'll be willing to give it to you for free. If you have some kind of existing relationship with them, they may want you to do something else for them. But the point is, that's how you would find out that information. Now, once you know which ingredients you need, and you also know what are the steps to take, you then have to take those steps in the right order. Again, either through trial and error or ask someone that knows, and they'll tell you this is the order. This sounds like a bit of an abstract example, but let the plane land.
Okay. You like Muhammad said that day, innit?
I like you when he said, Mahdi.
Okay.
Mahdi said that day.
I paid attention to when Muhammad said it. He said, let me land.
Yeah, he said, let me land. Because I can see your eyes, your cogs are running right now. You're thinking, where's this going? So this comes down to a principle that we call the theory of constraints, right? And the importance of doing one step at a time. Because someone might say, wait, but when you're baking a cake, like sometimes you do multiple things at the same time. You preheat the oven's on while you're doing the first step. But at any given one time, you're doing one step. Even when you go to preheat the oven, at that time, all your resources are dedicated to what? Preheating the oven. You're not whisking with one hand and turning the oven on with your teeth, are you? You're going to go there, do that, come back, do that. One step. Now, people have this. In life, there are so many different steps, so many different ingredients. There's a recipe, there's a formula for success. You might not know the formula because you haven't got enough life experience. You might not know the formula in business because you haven't had the opportunity to set up a business. There are people out there that do. Either you'll have to pay them for their time through either money or effort or time, or like in a mentorship setting, or you'll have to do trial and error. And that's the long game. But even then, you have to figure out, first and foremost, what are the problems? I had a consultation recently with a brother, and he was struggling to find a job. He's unemployed. At the same time, he's struggling to get married. And at the same time, he wants to, start learning, and he asks for direction, growth. And at the same time, he's trying to set up a business. Which of these is the most important for you right now? Like, what's your most urgent need? Are you about to do zina? Are you dying to get married? No, not really, but I found a sister and it's just long, I don't have a job. Okay, cool. The thing that's stopping you from getting married is the job. You need income right now. Setting up a business, income will come later.
I think one thing that I would just tweak on what you said there, it's not what's the most important thing, because that could be subjective.
What's the most urgent?
It's about the thing that is the biggest bottleneck.
Yeah, it's the thing that's holding you back from everything else. Yeah. So if, like, for example, as you said, having a job was a bottleneck for him. So I said, like, have you been looking? He's like, yeah, bro, I've been looking. I said, how many jobs have you applied for? He's like, 100. Since when? Like last August. Something. So in 10 months, you applied for 100 jobs. So how did you apply for them? Oh, online, like Indeed. And you have not applied for jobs, bro. If you were to dedicate the next 30 days and apply for 10, 15, 20 jobs every single day, both online and offline as well. Every single, he was practicing law. He graduated from law. So he wanted to find a job in a law firm and whatnot. And I said, okay, first of all, you need to look into practicing law. That's a different story.
That's why I didn't practice
law. That's a different story.
Yeah.
But spend every single day focusing all your resources on this. Wallahi, by the end of 30 days, you will have a job. Yeah. Wallahi, you'll have a job by the end of 30 days. If you spend 30 days exhausting your effort, starting a 5-mile radius, then a 10-mile radius, then a 15-mile radius, knock on every single. But then obviously you need to start learning other things. You need to learn how to package yourself, how to market yourself, how to put yourself across. You may have to even offer, bro, I'll work for free for a month. Give them an offer that they won't refuse. But that's what you need to do. Right now, you're trying to focus. You've got 5 things going on at the same time. It's not going to work, bro. Focus on one thing at a time. And inshallah, through that, you'll find success.
Yeah, this theory of constraints thing has been life-changing for me personally as well. And if you look, it's just so intuitive. It just makes so much sense. Even in the religion, it's about prioritizing the most important thing. Like even, in the hadith, and the Prophet ﷺ sent Mu'adh to give da'wah. So first call them to La ilaha illallah, right? If they accept that, then teach them the salah. If they accept that, then the zakat. I.e., if you're praying, but your tawheed is weak, then your tawheed or your aqeedah here is a bottleneck and everything else. So even the deen pushes this. Like when we sit with our the brother that's mentoring us currently, right? And we pay him a pretty penny every month, right? Just to have 1 hour of his time every week. But
he probably gets paid more than some people get paid full-time wages.
Right. And what's beautiful about the way he approaches every meeting is, what's your constraint? And I remember, like, first things first, he wanted to look at our numbers and our finances, because he was like, look, that's the first thing, the heartbeat and the bloodline of the company is the cash flow, right? So he said, let me look at your numbers first. And straight away was able to identify something, which then caused us to change our whole mindset. Okay, how many decisions have we made, and how much money has been saved, and how much money are we now going to be making more so, inshallah ta'ala, because of just that one thing that he managed to pinpoint. Then the second time, again, an issue in terms of management, he gave me a framework to identify exactly what the bottleneck was. And then the third time we met, like a marketing and branding issue, it's just that lens of this is the issue, right? And go deal with this. And just being able to have that foresight of where is my bottleneck? Where is my constraint? Where is the point in which everything just tightens? If I can open that up, then, everything flows smoothly.
So I came up with, just to conclude, a 3-step process on how to do this for the brothers and even sisters that are watching this. The first thing is you have to brainstorm every single problem that you can think of in your life right now.
Yeah.
There are some, I guarantee you, you haven't even realized it's a problem until you do this activity.
Are you talking about business or life?
Whichever, it works for both. We did it yesterday for business. Remember, we actually did it ourselves. We're trying to figure it out for ourselves. We just made a list of what's required for our next launch. We just wrote down everything that came to our mind, everything. And even once and this is something I learned from you, barakallahu feek, even when you think you've given it enough time, give it more time. And you will come up with more stuff later. So whether it's in your personal life and you got stuff with your family and this and so on and so forth, or whether it's in your business life, you're trying to figure out, is it my sales, is it my marketing? Write down everything, brainstorm, brain dump, and get people that are relevant and involved, get them to help you with it as well.
The reason why the personal life thing is important is because sometimes your personal life becomes the constraint of your business. Sometimes you could be doing everything in business right, but because your marriage is whack, or your spirituality is whack, or your mental health is whack, right? That is becoming the constraint in your business.
And this is the equivalent of knowing all the ingredients and knowing all the steps.
Okay.
Once you know what all the problems are, or at the very least, the vast majority of the major ones, then you need to figure out which is the biggest bottleneck for me right now.
Okay.
And order them and keep adding them to, okay, this one goes in here, this one goes in here, and make an order of priority. This is the equivalent of knowing the steps of the recipe. And then you have to give all of your resources, all of your time, all of your effort that you are able to give to each one in that order. Don't let any of the others distract you from the primary one. That's sometimes you think, oh wait, it's not a distraction. I'm not scrolling on my phone. I'm actually doing work. No, but that work isn't what's important right now. Focus on the first and primary one. And the last piece of advice, the third one, inshallah, is revisit the list often. Sometimes you might not realize it. One of the problems you had was already solved by itself. You still got it in your list and you're trying to solve it and you realize that's not even there. Or there might be something else that came into your life, new. And that's now become a bigger constraint. So it's maybe like we do this as well. We regularly revisit what is the biggest. In fact, we do this daily. Every single day, our leadership meeting for our team, for our company starts off with first we start with what the W's and L's from yesterday. Then we go through what is the biggest constraint today. That's my advice.
Barakallah feek. I think that's very well said. So one of the things this brings me on to my first advice that I want to share with people that I felt was probably one of the most beneficial things and most important things that actually helped me in business was being able to learn, right? And having a mindset of constant knowledge. Now, one of the things that I'm very fortunate and grateful to Allah Azza wa Jal for is the fact that I found a mentor almost immediately when I started practicing. May Allah have mercy on him, he's passed away now. And he was a learner. Just really quickly, if you're a course creator or a coach, are you confused about how to scale your business to 7 figures? If so, you might be even more confused as to how we managed to scale our courses to 3 million plus whilst we were seeking knowledge and giving da'wah full time. And you might be even more confused to see all of these brothers here that you can see on screen, how I've been helping them use the exact same formula for their businesses to scale their course and coaching services. We're seeing crazy results. Brothers are doubling their income in the first 2.5 weeks. Some brothers making 5x in the first week that they've been working with us. Some brothers doubling their monthly recurring revenue in just 2 days. So alhamdulillah, the fruits are there and I want to share them with you, inshallah ta'ala. I know you've been working hard, building your course, your coaching program, but you want to get to 7 figures so you can earn back your time to worship Allah, seek knowledge, spend the money that you make for Allah's sake, spend time with your family and create wealth for the next generation with Allah Azza wa Jalla's permission. So for that reason, I'm going to show you and share with you the 7 steps that I've outlined to 7 7 figures that we did, that we implemented to get to 3 million plus, that these brothers were taught to be on their journey. Many of them past 6 figures now, on the journey to 7 figures, alhamdulillah. I'm going to share this with you and give you access to this on the 23rd of this month on Sunday, 2:30 p.m. UK time. Just go to the link below right now. Just quickly go right now and register your interest. Save your seat before you miss out. This is going to be the biggest event in the Muslim entrepreneurial space, inshallah ta'ala. And I have made a promise to make every person who misses it regret not turning up. So with that said, we'll see you there. In fact, I remember the first ever seminar that I went to with him. At the back, he had a bunch of books on display that he read. And I remember I took a picture of every single one of those books and I purchased every single one of those books, right? Rich Dad, Poor Dad was there. Made to Stick was there. The 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing, 22 Immutable Laws of Branding. You know, all of these books that I reference a lot, they were there. And I just understood from him that when I looked at him, I was like, okay, cool. So you became a millionaire and achieved all of these things because you learn and you implement what you learn. So I have to do the same. So I got to a point now, alhamdulillah, where I'm able to read one book every 3 days. And I could probably do it faster. It's just that I don't need to. And I currently don't do like 3 books in 9 days because I don't need to, because implementation is a huge part, right? Which is going to be a next lesson that I'm going to share in a second. But if I wanted to, I could easily and comfortably, and I have the time within my day, and I have a method that I follow, which I'll share with you guys shortly, of how I do it, right? But I can go through 1 book every 3 days, right? But I choose not to, because implementation is sometimes more important, because you don't want to become a donkey with books on your back, just like in the deen, right? So with these books, my approach is that whenever I'm stuck somewhere, I get a book. Business-wise, like personal life-wise, it just dawned on me recently that I have a daughter that I'm trying to raise, and I'm winging it. I don't know anything about child behavioral psychology. I started to observe certain characteristics in my daughter, and I was like, wait, I don't know if this is good, and where is this coming from? And then I was like, wait 1 second, I'm just gonna read. And I spoke to my wife about it. I was like, babe, look, I'm excited. Like, I can't even explain to her, like, the challenge of raising a kid now. It's become so exciting for me, because I can see the roadmap. I can see what I'm doing wrong, what I'm doing right. Now, by the way, when I read a book,
you've got the ingredients.
I've got the ingredients.
The steps in the recipe.
When I read a book, I don't necessarily take everything that the guy says, right? At the beginning, you do, perhaps, right? Because you don't know any better. You're none the wiser. Especially when there's a kafir, there's got to be something of a
filter,
of caution and filter, because sometimes they put creedal things that are against the deen, which they believe is right due to their reasons or whatever have you. So you got to have a filter with all of these things, right? But you've got to be able to approach it in that way. But nonetheless, I will take what you're giving me if it makes sense. And then I'm just implementing. And you know the thing about a book, bro, which is so amazing, is that usually a book contains a man's entire life's wisdom in a particular topic in just a few pages. Like, that's insane when you think about it. Like, a guy took his entire life's work and experience and wisdom, and he put it in a few pages for you. And I can purchase that for $10 or £10 on Amazon.
Or borrow it for free from the library.
Right, I'm saying that's nuts. Do you understand? Now, there's a lot of things to talk about here when it comes to books. I don't just buy books randomly. I have a process. Books have to be recommended to me by people that I respect or people that I know are successful in a particular field. If I hear a book that's been recommended, I'll grab that. If I hear a book that's been recommended again and again, I'll read that. Or what I'll do is I'll go to Amazon and I'll look for a book that has the most amount of reviews in a particular subject. That's also indicative that the book is good. And the more you read, the more you start seeing, okay, this book in that space, this book in that space. I'll also go and watch a book summary. I'll go and watch a book summary online on YouTube, where the whole book is summarized in 10 to 20 minutes. And then I'll make my decision about whether it's worth even reading or not. And even if I already know I'm going to read the book, I'll still watch the book summary. You know why? Because there's something about approaching the text prior to actually reading it that allows you to already understand concepts in it, so that when you do read it, it's not the first time you're actually ever coming across it. right? So your comprehension is a lot better. And the reason why I found that very beneficial for me is because I actually have dyslexia. Now, dyslexia is where you struggle to process language. It doesn't actually affect your intelligence. Like, you can have creative skills, problem-solving skills, at a very high level, even if you're dyslexic. But anything pertaining to language, i.e. speech, reading, writing, the brain processes it in a bit of a different way, right? So I came up with this process of how to study. And I'll talk about the dyslexia thing in a bit more detail in a second when we talk about action. But this is my process for reading. And perhaps you may not need to do it at the level that I do it, right? But this is a process that I created to, number one, ensure that I read fast, and I comprehend everything that I've learned, despite having dyslexia and other things. So the first thing that I'll do, like I said, is I'll identify the book. Then I'll watch the book summary. Always, I watch the book summary. So I already know what this book is about. So when I'm approaching the text, it's never something that's random and new to me. The second thing that I'll do is when I'm reading the book, I'm listening to the audiobook at the exact same time. Because of my dyslexia, it's harder for us to speed read. And I can speed read, by the way. I learned speed reading. I went out on my way a decade ago to learn how to speed read. But even when I speed read at my highest level, it's not going to be like another person who's speed reading. But even when I read normally, I can read faster than a normal person. But I wouldn't read even faster. So what I'll do is I'll listen to the audiobook at the exact same time, and I'll put it on a minimum of 2.5 times speed. And if it's easy to digest, I'll go up to 3.5. But when I feel like it's getting to a point where it's becoming too weighty for me, I won't put it on that speed.
Well,
also, just to mention, even if you don't have dyslexia, it's also good to listen to the audiobook at the same time because you've engaged more senses. So your comprehension is better with the text. Because think about it. If I read and then write what I've read and then I speak what I've read, right, it's going to stay in me a lot more. So on any given day, a person should be listening to and reading at the exact same time. And then what I'll do, and this is the killer here, right? Is I will go and speak and discuss with someone what I've just learned. And I was watching a podcast by Andrew Huberman and Cal Newport, right? Cal Newport's the guy who wrote the book Deep Work. And his things were about how to focus and this, that. And they talked about a study that Cal Newport conducted in one of his universities where he's a professor at, where he wanted to look at students who performed really well, but didn't work as hard, and students who worked really hard, but didn't perform so well. So it's like, what happened? Because clearly, the effort and the amount of time you put in the library is not necessarily the one thing that helps you to succeed. And the conclusion that he came to was that the students who didn't put a lot of effort in, but still ended up getting the highest marks, they had one thing that they did, which was that they used to talk and discuss the thing that they had learned with other people. And if they had no one to talk to, they would recall it in their mind. And that recall, right, had way more of an effect in retaining the information than if they were just studying, reading, researching, and all that. So you engaged what you learned and you forced your mind to recall it. So this is a summarized, like, I plan to do a video in more detail about my knowledge consumption system in detail. There's more to it. But in simple terms, find the right book, watch the book summary, read it, listen to the audiobook at the exact same time, and then discuss it with someone straight away.
One thing that I find beneficial, just to add in there, some people might be able to relate to this, as someone who, I don't know, apparently has ADHD, Allah alam, I don't know about that. I don't know if it's even a real thing. If it's not, Allah alam. Anyway, while I'm reading, sometimes I'll listen to the audiobook, but sometimes there's no audiobook for that book. What I find helps for me personally is to prevent, because sometimes I'm reading, I used to get this a lot back in the days, that's why I never used to enjoy reading. Well, I used to back in the fiction, like at a young age, but recently when you used to try to get me to read, one thing that I didn't really enjoy, or I would realize like 5 pages later, like I don't actually even know what I read. Like I was reading, but my mind was completely somewhere else. So what I started doing is reading out loud. And I found that, and even like, in Salah, like you're not, even in the quiet prayers, you're still meant to be reciting with your mouth. Yeah. And when you're reciting with your mouth, it forces you to be present. It's very hard to get completely distracted. You can still get distracted, but it's very hard to have the complete absent-mindedness as if you're just, because if you're not verbalizing it, you're not materializing it, it's just thoughts, and thoughts will run away. And next thing you know, before you know it, you're halfway through the book and you realize, well, if someone was to ask you right now, what was the last chapter about, you wouldn't even know. You wouldn't even know what was, and you would open up the book to see where did I leave off, and you would have absolutely no idea because you were just on autopilot. So having that as an extra step.
But there's just a point to mention it, because someone who's a smart addict is going to say that's not an efficient way of reading, because one of the first things that you are taught when you actually learn how to read, as in not how to read, not when you're in school. Because the way they teach you how to read is actually wrong. They teach you to sound out the words and speak them out loud, right? When you attend like a course on reading or read a book, one of the first things they'll tell you is do not read it out loud, right? Do not read it out loud. And here's why I just want to mention something where you need to be, because they say it's slower, right? And actually reading has got nothing to, it's just with movement of the eyes, right? It's like your mind is taking pictures of the page. That's how they teach you how to speed read. Now, the issue here is that, well, here is a guy who's saying that he might have ADHD, and strong reason to believe that you do, and and you're struggling to read otherwise. So why not?
If it helps you and it works, and you actually then it's working, why not?
And that's why I said approach all of these things with filters, because sometimes, remember, a person when he's writing a book and saying this worked for him, but it might not work for you. Like, this is my system that worked for me. It may not work for you. It may not work for you, but this worked for me. You can try it. It might work for you. I hope it works. It should work for most people, right? It's working for you now that you're doing it. But sometimes you might have to do things that are like a training wheel. Like for you, the reading out loud is like it's like training wheels. Like for example, another rule that I have for reading, we can move on from this if I'm dabbling into it too long, because I'm really passionate about reading, and I read in English and Arabic every single day with Allah's permission. I came across this quote and I thought it was truly profound. Truly profound. Read what you love until you love to read.
So
read what you love until you love to. Everyone will tell you, read this. And you're like, bruv, I'm not even interested in that. Like, even when it comes to deen, people tell you, you shouldn't be reading this, you should be reading this. But the guy doesn't read in the first place. I understand that this subject maybe is not where he is at, or maybe he should be reading something else. I'm not saying read an advanced book but I'm saying, let's just say that he should be reading, in Aqidah, but he's reading in fiqh. Just let him read. Like, let him develop the love for reading. And now, bro, honestly, you could put pretty much any book in front of me. Like now, I will find books on topics that I could have never imagined. Man bought a book on Scrum. I bought a book on Scrum and I read it and I understood it and I enjoyed it. I could never imagine that I would read a book on a way to manage teams that is used by tech companies. That doesn't even make sense to me. But I read it because I started reading what I love until I love to
read. There's a couple of things I would add on to that. Number one is, and this again, I'm just going back to my own personal experiences. Number one, there's a big mindset issue as well that I feel like a lot of people have, which is the reason why they don't read. And I feel like this is one of the reasons why I never used to read as much. As part of it anyway, is having a mindset of growth and accepting that you're ignorant. No one likes to accept that you're ignorant. That's one of the hardest things to do. And sometimes I find it hard to do something just because someone else told me to do it. And I feel like if I do it because he said to do it, I feel like, it's somehow,
is that active thing or a passive thing? Because I always thought it was passive, but the way you just describe it, it sounds like it's active.
I feel like since young, because of like in school, I was always so smart. I never had to study, I never had to do anything. I would just ace the exams. So for me, it was always like, I know. And then when suddenly you get to college and suddenly you're not spoon-fed everything, and it requires that learning. I wasn't ready and prepared to go out of my way to.
But did you actively used to say no? I know better.
No, it wasn't. What do you say actively? What do you mean?
Like, as in, is it a thing where it's just a habit? I'm just not listening to people,
Is it a habit,
or is it like
no?
He doesn't know what we're talking about. I know.
Like it was, no.
So it was active.
I don't know.
That's actually nuts.
Because even when Bitcoin came to me, I was like, bro, actually, come on, man. I know how money works and money being blah, blah, blah. Like, I didn't even look into it. Just wrote it off straight away. Like, I will write things off straight away just because they're alien to me. And it's only once, because and it's something I know it's about you.
The Arabs will say, man jahila shay'an adah.
I know, it's a problem.
Whoever's ignorant of something hates it.
I know, it's a problem.
You know, it's what about me?
Being vulnerable here, you don't have to rub it in.
Sorry.
As I was saying, I'm joking. As I was saying, one thing I noticed about you, sometimes, like when we're in meetings, like, sometimes you ask questions. And I'm looking at you thinking, bruv, you just made yourself look so dumb. Like, why would you ask that? Like, we know what the plan is. Why are you asking as if you're a child? So what would you say we do next? I'm saying, we spent the last, I don't know how long coming up with a roadmap for what to do next. Now you're sitting here asking the next man, what should we do next? And he's, in my mind, I'm thinking, but is he probably looking at you thinking, bruv, you're supposed to be a businessman and you don't know what to do next. But then I realized, I was like, he might mention something to you that you never even realized. But he won't mention, if you come across like, bro, I don't know, I've got it all mapped out. Just what are your thoughts on this issue? He would like, the questioner is under the duress of the question. The
answer. It sounds better in Arabic.
Yeah.
It sounds better in Arabic.
The mufti is at the behest of the mustafti. Meaning, he will answer. If you ask him, okay, look, I've got a sales issue. This guy's not performing well. What would you recommend with him? If you just say to him, look, this is my thing, what would you recommend? He might notice, bro, you forget sales. You've got marketing problems, bro. There's not enough leads coming to your sales guys. That's why there's a sales issue there. Or you know what? Maybe it's a company culture. This guy feels alienated. But because if you leave it open and you come to the table, and I believe you don't even do it from an angle of like intentionally trying to manipulate the situation. So it's like I'm coming across you genuinely like you want to know this guy's perspective, and you're willing and ready. And that's something I personally struggle with. That's something even I'm looking at you thinking, I would never do that. Now the more I think about it, honestly. But the more I think about it and I realize it, I can't lie, yeah, serious. Because even with the whole books thing, I can't lie, I don't bet it. You put me on. You put me on the books thing. And now that I'm onto it, the last thing I was on this because I don't want to drag this one out,
please go.
is distractions, man. Like I would struggle to read books and learn because I would find more dopamine hits through other things like social media, watching YouTube videos, etc. And it's only because I naturally, the books thing, you've been telling me about it for time. We've got a whole hyperbolic time chamber in our company, but I've just never really got around to it. I used to read a little bit here and there, read a few pages.
Hyperbolic time chamber is where we basically track everyone's learning
growth within the company, right?
Yeah.
So I would just watch YouTube videos. I'm watching YouTube videos on history, on geopolitics, on cars, on this. It's mad interesting stuff. Getting those dopamine hits. With books, I don't really get that dopamine hit. So it's hard. It's only when I just of my own accord, I said, you know what, I'm going to take a bit of a detox from social media. I just deleted Instagram, deleted YouTube even off my phone. Suddenly I'm like, rah,
got 9 to do.
I've got time. Let me see what I can fill up the time with. And I actually was sorting out my finances and I realized, why am I paying for this Amazon Kindle? Because you made us download a free trial of it to listen to the Bezos letters for the business. One particular chapter you want us to listen to from the audiobook. And I flipping got charged 2 months. So I was annoyed. I was annoyed. So I went to cancel it.
Because you were planning your finances at that time.
So I went to cancel it and I thought, I've got 2 credits. What are some books that I'm hearing about? I've heard of Atomic Habits. Let me download that. And I've heard of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Let me download that. I downloaded that. I started listening to it. Actually, what I'm driving, let me just listen to it. I was like, wow. And then, as you said, just whatever you love, read that until you love it. Now, bro, recently someone in the Brothers Club recommended a book. It's called How to Read a Book. Wallahi, it's one of the most sneaky books. This Don is a professor. The way he talks, it's like, it's not even a book, bro. It's a flipping
textbook.
What are those things, textbook, or what are those things that scientists produce, or the
papers?
Scholars, papers. It's like, it's a paper, bro. The guy just kind of like, it's
a thesis or something.
I got 2-3 hours into it. I couldn't finish it, but I benefit from what I benefit from the main thing. But it was just like, wow. I was like, I've just listened to an audiobook of how to read a book. I'm in the gym, bro, banging weights. Normally I'm listening to some mad stuff trying to get me motivated. I'm listening to this guy saying,
not music, by the way.
Yeah, no, not music, obviously. And then I'm listening to my man just saying, yes, first time you need to, the first time you read a book, it's just you scan, you read the blurb, then you get basic understanding. Similar to what you said about video summary. You get an idea what the book is about. Is this even befitting what you need to read? So on and so forth. Anyway, the bottom line is, number 1, mindset, man. You have to be willing to accept there's people out there that know more than you. People out there that know better than you. And don't be afraid to accept that, even if it makes you look weak, or even if it makes you look, even if you feel like it belittles you, you have to, bro. You're not going to grow otherwise. You can only grow if you're small. If you believe you're the biggest, you can't grow. There's no room for growth. Make yourself small, and then you'll grow. Second thing is distractions. Get rid of them, and I promise you'll see benefit coming to your life.
And just because we're talking here in the context of business, so remember, one thing that's really important to mention is that sometimes people will keep reading books in areas that they're good at. Right? Like, for example, me, for years...
And we could do a whole podcast just on this.
Yeah, for years, I just kept reading on marketing, social... But, bro, that's not really an area where I struggle, alhamdulillah. Now I start reading books on management and other things, because those are areas where I actually struggle, where I don't know, right? So it's important to allocate the constraint of the business and then read based on that, right? But if you just want to get into reading, read what you love to read. So just on that... if I could just mention, because it connects, and then we can go back to your lesson, yeah? Your next lesson. Another lesson that I learned with the importance of is to take action and not give up, right? And it just makes sense, right? Because even in the deen, we always hear about knowledge and actions, right? Don't act without knowledge, and don't have knowledge and then don't act. But I've got a pretty unique relationship with action, right? And that is that I just don't approach things with the lens of I'm gonna try. If I want to do something, I'm gonna get it done, right? Now, if there's stuff that I don't really care about, whatever have you, that will show, right? I'll just write it off, give it a little go, and then and then I won't really see it all the way through to the end. But anything that I actually want to do in life, I don't have the lens of I'm gonna try. And I actually hate that. Sometimes with some of the brothers on the team, we actually beefed about this.
Me and you.
Yeah, and I didn't want to.
I'm ready. We're ready to.
And I don't know. You still may disagree with me, but me, I believe that if I come with the mindset of I'm gonna try to get this done, then that right there, I've already accepted the possibility of failure. And even though failure is always possible, but that's a mindset that's so destructive. Because I read something in a book, again, I quote this book a lot. It was the first book I read on self-development as soon as I started practicing. It's by a guy called Tony Robbins. It's called Awaken the Giant Within. Some people have started reading that book since I've been mentioning in different podcasts. We should honestly have an affiliate link. But can you get an affiliate link for it, yeah? Inshallah, for Amazon. So point being is that one of the things he mentioned right at the beginning of the book, and it's the first chapter the way he lines it up, he said, always reach for the goal that's up there in the sky. Because if you don't get a cloud, you get a branch of a tree. But if all you're doing is aiming for the tree, if you don't get the branch of the tree, you fall flat on your face, right? So you've got to really, really, really make your goals audacious. And you've got to make the target that you're running for like something that's really up there. And one of the ways I do that is by just eliminating and eradicating from my framework the possibility of failure, or I'm going to try, or I'll try my effort. Like, I actually don't like effort. Again, the concept of we had a whole podcast on parenting and whatnot, so on and so forth. And I believe that praising people for their effort has its time and its place in certain circumstances. But I will not accept anybody that works said, I tried, I put my 100% effort in. Because I can't measure effort. Do you understand? I can't measure effort. And one of the things that really helped me understand this was training in the gym, man. With Umar, like we trained to failure. He taught me the concept of failure. And every time I kept failing, man, you know what man showed me? Man showed me, bruv, you've got more in you. And I didn't used to believe him. Until every time I kept going, realized, bruv, failure is a mental barrier. And you know one thing that even proves it to me further? I actually checked it today, bruv. I'm baffed. I got this thing called Whoop now, right? Which I use to measure my sleep. So this measures three things for you. It measures your sleep, it measures your recovery, and it measures your strain, right? Because based on how much you strain yourself every day, your sleep is going to change, and then it's going to measure your recovery. How much did you recover of the strain that you put on yourself? And it's talking about in terms of physical or mental strain, right? So you know what's nuts is that the strain level here is the 21, right? That's the highest. And no one can get 21. No matter how hard you push yourself, it will never show that your strain hit 21, right? So my G, I trained in the gym with Umar today, first day back after a month and a half. And I trained to failure, bro. So in every set, I maybe one or two of them, I was like, maybe I could have gone a little bit further. But bro, you know when I looked at the app, how much strain I put on myself? 10. So I'm not saying that the numbers here are exactly accurate, but what that showed me was I still had more in me. I didn't train, even in the red zone. Like as in, there was so much more left in me, do you understand? So what that shows here, and I'm not a scientist, and I might have maybe botched up the numbers or the figures there or whatever have you, but the point that I mentioned is that the concept of like, I tried. Bruv, there's no way to measure that, right? And you can always try more, and you can always try harder. So then just eliminate trying from the process here, and just say, I'm going to get it done. That's what one of our company values is: get the job done. I don't care about your efforts, bro. Just get it done, right?
So I don't want to reignite this thing again.
Yeah, please go.
It's funny because I actually believe that. And I said I don't want to reignite it.
No, please do it.
I actually believe that training to failure is a measure of effort, not a measure of results. Because you're not saying that you're saying I'm going to go until I can't go anymore.
Yeah.
And I believe that is effort based. But I believe, there's a nice way because it's funny. You don't realize how powerful removing social media and all these things. So the self-reflection even it allows for. So this trying thing, I was deep in it myself recently, and I was thinking about, because it's true. Even me, like when you say about do something to like work related, I'll say, you know what, calm, I'll try to get it done. And you used to hate that. It used to really annoy you, right? I realized in other areas of my life that I was passionate about, that I was interested about, the word try never came to my mind. For example, recently the thing about I want to climb this mountain in Morocco. I moved everything around, my schedule, my work. I was ready to sacrifice everything to get it done. As in, my point was, I'm getting this done. I don't care how. But when it comes to other things where I'm not interested, and maybe this is again because people say this is something to do with ADHD, or whatever. When you can only really do things when you're passionate about them. And I feel like that's a good way to balance things. Like when I say I'm going to try to get it done. It's true. In my mind, it's like, it's not, for me, it's not the end of the world if it doesn't happen. So I'm going to try to do it. And in a way, I feel like that's me accepting that I'm not going to try my best. Even though it's funny because you make it sound as if you're saying, don't worry, bro, like, because the whole premise is, bro, if it's impossible to do, it won't happen. But that will happen even if you, as you said, aim for the stars, aim for the sky, and you actually give it your best, 9 times out of 10, most times you will actually get it. And even if you don't, as you said, you'll reach a level that is, but if you're in your mind, you've already kind of accepted, or it's just like, you don't see it to be something important. You don't see it to be something that the results are actually going to be like, or, you know, you're not passionate about it or whatever, then you won't actually try. And when you're saying you're going to try, what you're actually saying is, I'm not going to try. So it sounds mad.
Yeah, you're right.
It sounds mad.
You're right.
But by saying I am going to get it done, you're actually saying I am going to try my best.
It's like when people,
it's weird.
It's like when you want someone to do something and say inshallah, and you're like, wait, was that an inshallah of like I'm gonna get it done, or inshallah like
Inshallah,
you know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah.
Look, it's very true, because one of the things I used to always say to me, you say, Imran, because look, being the CEO of the company, i.e., I'm in a leadership position, right?
Yeah.
But one thing I've always tried to do is throw leadership responsibilities away from myself to someone else, because I believe I'm a good leader from some angles, but from other angles, I believed I just don't have the ability to lead. I just don't have the resources, the tools, the know-how, the knowledge, the systems, the frameworks in order to lead, right? Which is why I tried to hire CEOs. I tried to hire guys that will be in management positions, manage me if anything, right? But it just never worked out. In the end, I'd always be monkey managing them, and it just always came back to me. But there were certain things that I just didn't know how to. I just didn't know how to get a team organized, get a team motivated. I didn't know how to do these things. And you used to always say to me, just do it. And I said, bruv, that's not my thing. Until recently, I said to myself, you know what, bro? I'm just going to learn it. I'm just going to learn like this OKR thing. What is it? Like I was even trying to get Abbas to sit down and explain it to me, because he's the one who I heard OKRs from first, but he's been busy. He's CEO of Sunnah Match. He's doing his own thing. I said, you know what, bruv? I'm just going to read the book. The guy who who pioneered OKRs. Like, we went and taught it to Google and all the man there. I said, bruv, I'm just going to read man's book. It's called Measure What Matters. And then I was like, okay, cool. I heard this thing about this. I heard about this thing called Scrum. Abbas put us on again. And I didn't feel like I fully understood it from him. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to read the book. Do you know what I'm saying? And then he had this thing called Sprint. So I was like, okay, let me buy a book in sprints. Do you understand? So these are things that are like, they're not even, like, they are things that I would have said, bruv, I can't even do this. Do you understand? But just, bruv, you will get the job done. And one of the, and now, alhamdulillah, bro, I think we've got great management now. Yeah. Right? Yeah. We got great management now. Like, it's even funny because one of the things that me and you do every morning is we have something called an awareness meeting, right? And one might say, bruv, that's really inefficient. Because it's true, right? It is. We end up spending half an hour to an hour during a time that's really deep work time. And it's like, bruv, there should be systems and processes in place that allow that to happen a lot faster. But you got one ADHD Donny here, you got one dyslexic Donny here. It works for us.
It works.
And that half an hour to an hour that we spend, bro, helps us save weeks in the long run. Now, it's true. I'm not going to use my dyslexia as an excuse, or I also believe I have ADHD as well, and obviously yours, as an excuse to say it's going to always be like this. No, the point is this training was we're going to set strategies and processes in place so we don't have to do a meeting like this in the future, right? That takes this time. But you know what? For now, it works. And I'm working towards getting it done. And the last thing that I mentioned here is that one of the reasons actually I have this conviction, and I'm just so grateful to Allah Azza wa Jal for like this resilience of like, I'm gonna get the job done, brother. And I just can't accept the word try. It's because of one thing. It's because of one thing, yeah? And again, coming back to the reading issue, like reading, what subhanAllah, you know, it all started with my dad, may Allah bless him, yeah? He got me onto reading. Like, you see me my whole life, bro, I've been a reader. There was a point where about 7-8 years I stopped reading. But reading has always been an important part of my life. I grew up hearing that your grandfather would read, right? He only ever studied up to year 8 in Pakistan. And then after he taught himself. And he spoke English so fluently. They used to write his own books and novels. And at the age of 50, he applied to Oxford University for a degree. And they accepted him. And the acceptance letter came a few days after he passed away. May Allah have mercy on him. I mean. So I heard that your grandfather used to read. So you have to be a reader too. I didn't even understand the big deal behind reading. My dad would make me read the Sunday. He would make me read the Times, which is a broadsheet newspaper, right? You have tabloid newspapers, you have broadsheet newspapers. Right? Tabloid is where you have that gossip. My dad never brought that stuff to man. He said broadsheet. That's what it's called, right? The technical newspapers, even by the way, the broadsheets today, if that's what it's called, like, is not like how it was before. Like when you used to open up the Times, the Telegraph. I don't know if Telegraph was on there, but you used to buy them newspapers and read. But I remember being 5 years old, I was made to read the dictionary beginning to end. I remember when I was 7 years old, do you know what I was reading, bro? Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Do you know who the hell that is? The man who wrote Sherlock Holmes. The original Sherlock Holmes. So I read that when I was 7. Now, I used to always struggle to read, but I never had this concept of I can't read or inherently there's something wrong. I'm just going to read and get it done. I was in top set in school, right? I never had extra time to finish off exams, right? But I used to always get in trouble for my handwriting being bad. I used to always get in trouble for my spellings. I used to always, but it was never up until, bruv, I finished my university, bruv. I never had extra time like the dyslexic kids used to have. I was never in the bottom set like the dyslexic kids. And never, because you know what? Alhamdulillah, it was never brought to my attention. Years later, I learned, you know what, bruv, man's dyslexic. What is dyslexia? Just so people can understand what we have to do with on a day-to-day basis, yeah. Number one is you're not able to speak properly. And I realized, well, I actually have a speech issue. Like, we will mispronounce words that sound similar. Effect and effect. And to the point where I won't know which one to use in which context. Right? I actually won't know which one to use. We botch up our words, the order of how we say certain things. Okay, cool. And next thing is when it comes to writing, I will confuse. Like, I will write a P as a D because they're similar. Or sometimes a D instead of a B. Because they're similar. And then I have to rub it out and scribble it out and so on and so forth. I remember my sheikh used to get upset with me when I'm writing on the book and I'm scribbling out. And he told me it's bad manners with the book. And I get that. But the only reason I would do that is because as I'm writing notes in the book, I just, my brain processes things differently, so I wrote it wrong. Do you understand? Also, when it comes to reading, one thing you get really annoyed at me sometimes is that you've sent me a bunch of messages and I've asked you again. Like people who are dyslexic will actually miss out things. Their brain just doesn't capture everything all in one go. I also believe that, to be honest, that could be down to also being hasty because I look at things fast. So my point is that, and reading is very slow, right? So my point is that not being able to read, but I don't want to say not being able to, but the brain of a dyslexic person processes speech, writing, and reading differently. It processes language differently to a normal person. Do you understand? Like, for example, even how earlier I was struggling, what word should I use? And you were like, filters. Like dyslexic people are known to struggle to find the right word, which is
ADHD people are known to butt in
and mention it, right? So that's why it works. So point being is that all of that, but I never knew it. Because I never knew it, I never once asked for, can I have extra time? But I always got the test done. I was in the top set, maybe some second set. There's 4 sets, right? Top, first one or the second one. I remember when I used to look at the kids who were in the bottom set and the ones who had special needs, dyslexic kids and whatnot. It's like, bro, they used to come across so, like, challenged. But my brain works the same as this. But having that label for them was so destructive. Do you understand? Because I never had that label, but if I got to a point where now I can finish a book every 3 days. By the way, I learned a completely different language. The dyslexia is the thing that stops you from language, like being able to process language in your language. I learned a different language. Arabic. I learned Arabic grammar and morphology, right? And guess what? I read not contemporary, classical texts. Classical. Every single day. I read an Arabic more than English. So my point is that was proof to me that don't ever tell me try. I'm going to try. And I can't get it done. That was proof for me that, bruv, you can get the job done. So then after that, Facebook ads is easy. After that, bruv, coming up with an offer, fulfillment, onboarding, management, sales, all of that is easy, brother. Do you understand?
So my final and, I guess, updated position on this issue is I believe ultimately it will come down to effort. But the only way to actually get your best effort is to forget about effort and focus on results. Does that make sense?
That makes
the
complete sense
only
to me.
way you will ever, because the reality is, for 99.9% of things that you would ever try and do, your best effort will be good enough to do it.
Yeah.
You will be able to get it done.
Yeah.
It's very small, like there's a very small link, maybe it's genetic or this, very small number of things that you won't be able to do. But if you've accepted that I'm going to try, you will never give it your best, because in your mind it's like, you know what, there's a chance of failure. Let me account for that. When you account for there's no failure, it's like the example of, and I don't like to use movies as examples, but it was a movie where there's a guy stuck in a prison and he was using to tie himself to a rope, using that to climb. So he had a backup plan, like worst case scenario, if it doesn't work, and in the last jump he'd keep failing. And eventually, like, an old man said to him, bro, you need to get rid of the rope. Like, if you get rid of the rope, now in your mind there's no chance of failure. If I fail, I will die. And that's where you will get it done. So just like that, when there's things that, and usually you find that things that are easy for you, you will never say try. Things that you know the recipe for, you will never say try. But it's only when you don't know the recipe and you're like, oh, I'm gonna have to learn the recipe, I'm going to figure out, I have to use that's when you use the word try. You've already failed. You say that. So my thing is, it is about effort, but you will never be able to give it your best effort until you eliminate effort and focus on the results. That's the khulasatul qawl.
I like that. I like that. Because my issue has always been with measuring. Like, I can't measure effort. And you could tell me you've done effort, but I can't.
Yeah.
I can't.
And like I said, the reality is cool. Because even I was reflecting. It's funny. I don't know why randomly it just came on while I was driving here. That same podcast. Like, in a way, the examples we're giving is true, but it's like it's so unrealistic. Like, what are the chances for a whole year you'll practice running and still come last? That's not realistic. It's possible, but it's not realistic. You are going to improve, and if given enough hours, you will eventually be the best. Because other people aren't putting that same in. Again, it does come down to effort. Because you may put that in and not get it. But the point is, it's so unlikely that that will be the case. It's such a straw man argument to say that, you know, you will do that and not see the results. Anyway, should we move on to the next point?
Yeah, go on. Give us your next lesson. So just so far, we talked about the importance of mentorship, importance of knowing what the constraint is, the importance of acquiring knowledge, and the importance of, bruv, just acting, doing action, and not, and having a mind frame of, I'm not here to accept failure. Go on, what's next?
The next one is chaos is the enemy of progress. Create order and everything else will fall into line.
Okay.
Let's start off with an example. There's an army. The army, in order to know where to go, who to go, the foot soldiers, they need what? Orders. To get it from the next guy up, an officer. He gets it. Eventually, it goes all the way up to the general, right? The general is the one who's calling the shots. If there was no chain of command, if there was no orders, there would be absolute massacre. There'd be absolute chaos, and it would end in a massacre. Yes, that army is not doing anything. The best battles were won. Why? Because there was leadership. Look at Khalid bin Walid, radiallahu anhu. He was one of the best, and he didn't lose a single battle. It shows that had the soldiers been left to their own devices, they might make decisions that they don't really know about. And a lot of people don't realize, up until about the age of 18, you've got officers and generals in your life, your parents, your school. They dictate to you your routine. You're a soldier, boy. You're a soldier. Until the age of 18, you're just a foot soldier. And you can get away with that, no problem. But once you hit 18, then you're left to the dogs. You're left to the wilderness. And if you don't step up and you won't become a general straight away. That takes years to reach that level.
Or 21 if you went to uni.
Or 21 if you went to uni. Because people, they come out of uni, bruv, they don't know left from right. They don't know, they're baffed, or they drop out of college. What am I doing in life? I don't know. Because the thing is, they don't teach you how to be an officer. They teach you how to just carry on being a soldier, find the boss, he'll be your officer, he'll just dictate to you what you do.
You know the maddest one is, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but it's just so relevant right now. To illustrate, if Don's at uni and you ask him, but what do you want to do in life? Like, what do you want? And he says to you, I don't know. I beg you by Allah, leave right now. You're doing this, you're wasting money right now, right? You're wasting racks. It's probably your riba as well. Please, if you're at uni and you're spending, how much is it? £10,000 a year?
9,000.
9,000 a year. And you're like, bruv, I actually don't know what I'm doing. Please leave right now. Please leave right now. Back to you.
Yeah, so look, you have to have officers, you have to have generals when it comes to war.
Yeah.
My brother, every single day you're waging war. Jihadun nafs. Every single day you got distractions coming your way, you have to fight them off. You got problems coming your way, you have to figure them out and solve them as proper solutions. You have to have order in your life. And one of the ways that I'm going to mention to get order into your life is just have a schedule, bro. Like I said, up until 18, 21, you were given a schedule. Your life dictated you need to, especially if you're self-employed, especially if you're running your own thing, rude boy, you need a schedule, bro. Even if you're working 9 to 5, one could argue you've got some level of a schedule. But even in your spare time, have a schedule. What's the reason why things are on your to-do list and they never get done? Because you don't put them into a schedule. So now the question is, how does one go about making a schedule? So I can only, again, talk about how I did it, right? So for me personally, open up again, barakallahu feek, put man onto the whole schedule thing. Tried to get with me for a while. And my life was a mess, bro. I had so much stuff going on. It was so like, things were getting done, things were moving. Alhamdulillah, there's so barakah in my life. But I was like, the efficiency that I'm seeing now,
it's different.
It's forget different, bro. It's astronomically different. Like I can't even begin to explain to you how different it is, right? So here's what I did. I opened up a Google Calendar. First things first, I just put in all the salah times. Non-negotiable. That's going to dictate a half an hour block. Gives you time to get to the masjid, to do your wudu, to pray your salah. That's
come back.
That's the first thing you have to put in your time block. After that, you put in other things. You can put in your work. You put in this. You put in gym. Start off with things again in the order of importance. But then also some things might be more important. Like for example, Quran class is very important, but my sheikh's very flexible. I can do that. But with work, for example, I've got a team and I have to be available at the hours that the team needs me. So here I've got complete flexibility. I can do it any hour of the day. And here, so even the Quran technically is more important, but I'll put that in later because that I can do at any time of the day without it being a problem.
I would just say that the first thing you should do in the day is the thing that's hardest.
Yeah, you're jumping the gun.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah. So this is what I call macro time blocking.
Okay.
Time blocking, a general plan for the week.
Plan, yeah.
So if you look at mine, like for example, like it would say, wake up at this time, sleep at this time. You might think, well, isn't that a bit like we want? And by the way, sometimes you'll deviate from this plan. Sometimes things will move around. That's normal. That's life. You just update it as you go along. But the point is, you need to have a general guideline. You need order. You have to become the officer in your own life and give yourself you're the officer and you're a soldier as well. You have to do the damn thing as well. So you provide the guidelines, then you go and you execute, and then you go and you execute those guidelines and those orders as well. Then there's micro time blocking. This is again, barakallahu feek. Wallahi, I've never been as productive in terms of on a daily basis than through micro time blocking. And micro time blocking is, bro, at the start of your day, look at everything that you need to do and just block through the rest of the day with those tasks. And you do your best to stick to that time block. Even if, for example, you set an hour for this task, but actually you don't finish it, no problem, move on.
And not necessarily individual tasks. Like for example, if you've got like 3 emails to send, you don't put email 1, email, you just put emails.
Yeah, respond to emails
Right.
or do admin. And let's just say you've only sent 2 in that time that you allocated to it. Leave the 3rd email, move on to the next task. Keep doing that, and it will give you a sense of, and you edit, update it. You have to change it around. Oh, wait, look, I need to babysit you, or I need to go to the bathroom, or whatever it is, and then you just okay, there's an empty gap there, or change something here. But the point is, give yourself, this is my schedule. I go to the gym on these days at these times. Let your family know. These are the times we're going to go out. These are the days we're going to go out. It might change, by the way. I'm letting you know the degree of flexibility. And by the way, even, it's funny, even where days that I have flexibility, I still don't even tell them because for all I know, that might change. So I don't want them to know that those are flexible days because then they don't become flexible days. So you have to have a degree of flexibility even within yourself. But that time blocking, the macro, the micro, it just gives you direction. People are just baffed. I don't know what to do. Paralysis, analysis, theory of constraints. This will provide the guidelines to actually execute and implement that.
A couple points just to mention on there. So look, one thing is don't try and do too many things at once. This is an issue I had. Like at any given time, there's so much I want to achieve. One of the hardest things is that I've had to do, Bakr, in my life is just focus and actually come to terms with the fact that there's some things I'm just not going to be able to do. I'm a human being, and I have limited resources and I have limited capacity, right? I can choose what I want to perfect. And those things, I'm going to have high aspirations and I'm not going to accept failure as a framework for myself. But I can't do that for everything that I want to achieve. So I'm going to have to ask myself, what are the things that are most meaningful for me that I want to give 100 to? Seeking knowledge is the biggest priority. It's right up there, right? Seeking knowledge, studying, being given da'wah, nothing takes that place. Then there's other things. Otherwise, right now, if you see on any given day, I've got crazy time block, left, right, center. Even some things, by the way, you might want to do, but you might not be able to do them 5 times a week. Just do it once a week. It works, right? So the thing is focus. That's the second thing I want to mention is what I do is that the hardest thing, or the thing that usually has the most friction, or the hardest thing to do later on, I just do it at the beginning of the day. For example, gym, I just get it done first thing in the day. That in my schedule, Just first thing of the day, because I know gym later, it's like, bruv, as the day goes on, I don't want things with friction. Another thing that I do straight away in the beginning is I do my muraja, my revision of my Quran. Because that, bruv, is usually the thing that can easily just get left to the next day, right? Or later on, and as the day goes on, you're not as fresh, you're tired, you're fatigued. But in the morning, just get it done, right? The third thing that I'll mention here is discipline. If you create a schedule like that for yourself, you have to stay disciplined to it.
It will force you to be disciplined.
One of the things that I've learned recently that's really helped me with discipline, right, is to understand discipline should have a degree of flexibility. Discipline should not have rigidity. That's going to sound mad for people. What do you mean? What about that? Get up every day, 4 a.m., like a soldier, do the same thing for 10 years, 20 years. What about the Salaf? They used to do X, Y, Z every day. Look, they never did it any other way. Look at this businessman. He done this every day for the last 20, 30 years of his life. I'll say, you know what, bro? That's my man. That's not me. For me, what I know is that I'm a human being. And if I set myself a plan, if I'm going to do this every single day for the rest of my life, and if I fail, what happens, bro? Straight away things crumble. And there's even this concept in seeking knowledge which is called inqita' dirasa, which is that if you stop seeking knowledge for a period of time, it's very hard to get back onto it. If there's one break of a habit, like I know if there's one day where it didn't happen, like one day if I didn't pray my sunnah prayer before dhuhr, it's like after that it just becomes a cycle. It's just hard to get back onto. And it's kind of like that you built yourself up to, I am going to do this now, and I failed. And no one likes to be a failure. And then you realize it's hard. So what I do now is that I've got 2 frameworks for discipline that give me flexibility with regards to my discipline. If there's something that I want to do and I want to be disciplined with it, I will say I will never not do this for 2 days in a row. I will never not do this for 2 days in a row. For example, if we take the Quran as an example, right? Oh, this is a business podcast. Let's use business as an example, right? So I want to do deep work every day. Like deep work is 4 hours of focused work, right? 3 to 4 hours of focused work, no distraction, not looking at my phone, with the tasks that require a lot of mental effort, right? So I would love to be able to do that 7 days a week, but I can't do it every day. So I have a rule, which is that I will never not do deep work for 2 days in a row, right?
Even in Atomic Habits, he mentioned that everyone slips up.
Yeah.
The most important thing is when you slip up, don't let that become your new habit. You have to rebound back. Strong, hard, fast.
So I've heard that many a time, right? But what makes sense to me is just have that framework. Like also one of the things that I'm doing recently, I'm trying to quit chocolate. But I know I love chocolate. I freaking love Kinder Bueno, bro. Right? The not the white chocolate one.
I love both.
I know.
I don't discriminate.
I love it, and I love truffles. You know those little truffles with the hazelnut filling. I love it.
Ferocious.
No, the bougie ones from Batil.
Oh.
Batil camp. Point being is that, so do you know what I do, bro? So I have a thing of, look, I will never do this. I will not eat chocolate for 2 days in a row. That's the first thing. The second thing is that, okay, cool. I want to do deep work, right? 4 hours of deep work every single day. But I may not be able to, even 2 days in a row, do 4 hours of deep work. But I've got to have levels, which is that level 1, and this is the most complete level, is a full 4 hour. Level 2 is maybe 2.5 hours. Level 3 is an hour. The level 3 option, is that still not beneficial? Is that still not something?
Yeah.
So then I will never ever go 2 days without doing deep work. Even if it's at a minimum. I just in my Quran as well. If I've got to memorize a whole juz, so if I've got to revise a whole juz off by heart, right? But I can't do that. I will never go 2 days without revising a juz. And if I am revising and that particular day is difficult for whatever reason, if I can't do the full juz, I'll do half. If I can't do half, I'll do a quarter. But at least, as in, there will never be a time where I don't do it. Do you understand? So that framework of discipline really helps. Really helps. There's more things to say, but I feel like we've run out of time.
There was one last point I was going to mention. I would really, and instead of getting into it, because that's going to be 10, 15 minutes, I'm just going to read it off my phone. Is that okay?
Okay.
So very quickly,
I love it.
It's called You Have to Follow the Salaf.
Okay.
So here I'm not talking about the first 3 generations of Islam, although of course you have to follow them too. I mean, those that have already preceded you, what I mean here is those that have already preceded you on the path that you want to take. We already mentioned this. This is having a mentor, right? Yeah. And I wrote down there's 2 types of mentors. There's those that you don't choose, either you pay for them with time or someone else pays the money to them for you. That's either your teacher, for example, in school, whether you like it or not, whether you realize it or not, they were your mentor. A sports coach, for example, is your mentor. Your parents, they were the first mentors that you ever had in your life. People say, oh, mentor, I don't need a mentor. Actually, you've always had a mentor. You will always need a mentor. Then there are those you can choose. And then again, you pay with either time or money. Your best friends, you pay them with your time, bro. You spend all your time with them, going out to eat with them, so on and so forth. They will be your mentors. A traditional mentor, like you actually go out, seek a mentor, your boss at work, another form of mentor, for example. Having a mentor allows you to speed up your success. Just like the example of paying to find out the ingredients and the recipe, as I mentioned earlier. It also opens up your mind to opportunities and concepts you never knew existed. Like, there are people playing a game that you don't even know about that game, bro. There are sports out there in the business world that you don't even know exist. People don't know what venture capitalism is. They don't know how that even works. They don't know how to even get into that. And finally, always seek out a mentor. You may outgrow a mentor, but you will never outgrow mentorship. You may have a particular mentor who can get you to one place, but you will never outgrow the need for a mentor overall. And on that note, if you guys probably realize, but Allah Mubarak, got my mentor sitting right here.
Nice.
Put me into a lot of things. Barakallahu feek.
Barakallahu
And honestly, the need for a mentor and mentorship, don't ever put yourself above that. And I feel like sometimes you know, as I said earlier, you can feel arrogant, or not arrogant, but self, whatever the word is. But yeah, barakallahu feek, man. Appreciate the mentorship.
Alright, Jazakallah, man. Barakallah feek, man. Good mentee.
Barakallahu feek.
Shout out
Recently.
shout out to Faisal Bhai.
It's been a tough 15 years, huh?
Yeah.
10 years.
Shout out to Faisal Bhai. He's a mentor right now.
Barakallahu feek. With that said,
Barakallah feek, man. So much more to say. Hopefully you guys benefited from that, man. May Allah Azza wa Jal bless you. And look, if you benefited from this and you want to see more stuff like this, share it. Because the more shares any particular video gets, that indicates to us that this was the type of content that you want to see. So if you watched it all the way to the end, most people don't make it to the end. It's on you to share if you want to see more stuff like this. So please share it. Barakallah feek. Assalamu alaikum. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.